What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Dense Pixels podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brad, joined by my co-hosts, Micah.
Hey.
And Carrie.
What's up?
So, before we get into the meat and potatoes, audio listeners, you're going to get a bit of a different experience this week because we are now going to have, like, real ads on the show. So you're not going to get our typical tangential ad breaks. You will hear, like, regular-ass podcast ads later on in the show. If you don't want to listen to them, that's what that skip button's there for. So you can just, fast forward through that content if you want. But to compensate, we'll be just doing some quick housekeeping up top. So again, don't forget to join our Discord at densepixels.com/fans. Follow the channel on YouTube by going to youtube.com/densepixels. Subscribe to all the TNP Studio shows wherever you get your podcast. You can also download or subscribe to Premium Dense Pixels by going to densepixels.com/premium to get access to all the premium TNP content, which, who knows, maybe down the road some more stuff coming because we're looking at a new platform for that soon too, that might give us a little bit more opportunity to do some cool things. And don't forget, you can also support the show by using our Amazon link by going to densepixels.com/Amazon and advancing our mega corporation future. So also these ads, like if you hear ads for like someone that's like, wow, what the fuck, guys, like let us know. Because I think we can tailor like what type of stuff gets put on there. And like I know that, like, I remember I was listening to a podcast I really liked one time, and they were like, hey, like, what's like, there's an ad that played, they're like, what's great? The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm like, this is the weirdest ad to hear ever on the show. Who are staunch anti-capitalists. So yeah, like if you hear any weird stuff, just give us a heads up and we'll see what we can do about that, because we don't want to. Yeah.
If you hear an ad for the Epoch Times for some strange reason, you should probably let us know.
Because we still want to be consistent in our values, right? Like even though we're engaging in some capitalism with this, like we still want to make sure that the shit getting advertised on our show is stuff that aligns with things that we like, or at least doesn't offend us. It doesn't offend our sensibilities in any way. So that being said, it is a news light show this week because there are games, lots of games. We're going to talk about Starfield a little bit later in the podcast, which all three of us have been playing. But Micah finally got his hands on a little game by the name of Baldur's Gate 3. And I am really curious, Micah, to hear how you're getting on with Baldur's Gate.
I really like that game. I really do. I'm really bad at it, though. I'm really bad at it. And look, there's I have no shame. I am quick to put a game on easy if I am not having a good time, and that's what I did. I put it on easy because that game takes a minute to get used to. Like I kind of understand the mechanics. I'm not used to having so much freedom, but being stifled at the same time, right? Like I can pretty much do anything, right? Like it's if I see something, I can probably interact with it. I remember fighting one goblin, and the goblin, I was under what I thought was just a piece of the terrain. No, it's a statue, and then the statue just, she shot at the statue, and the statue fell on me, and it caused damage. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. But you can
also do the same,
right? I could do the same. At one point, I had my wizard up at a high position, and then I destroyed the ladder so that people couldn't get to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the high ground, right? Like, which doesn't really mean anything if you're me, because the RNG gods do not like me at all. I distinctly remember Gale, and I was shooting at this drow paladin, right? And no, it wasn't even her. It was like one of her goblin goons, right? And it said something like 90% chance to hit, right? And I'm like, all right, come on. let's go, like killing blow, right? Like here's firebolt or whatever it is, critical miss, fucking critical miss at 90%. All right,
Well, that's the thing, Mike. You always have the chance to throw a one like that can always happen.
I know. I need to play the lottery with how many chances I throw ones. But I really enjoy it, man. So combat took a bit of getting used to. I think I've kind of gotten into a rhythm, but I find that I can be overwhelmed at times, especially with the amount of customization. Like I'm not used to the amount of customization. Normally, it's like, hey, you go up, you level up, all your stats are leveled up. No, now it's like, hey, you got stats leveled up. Now you have to choose whether or not you want to use this spell or this, and then you have to make this choice, and then this choice, and then this choice. It's not automatic, right? So it's but I do like that type of micromanaging. I'm just used to micromanaging one character, and I gotta manage, yeah, I gotta manage all these characters, and that's it can be daunting. But I do appreciate that the game doesn't hold your hand, right? Like, it gives you everything that you need, but there's no like, here's a blue dot on the screen that you have to get to, right? And where am I? I am I rescued the tieflings in the grove. And now I talked to I can't remember his name, the bear man. And he said you can either he said you can either go up here.
The guy accidentally murdered, or who murdered himself accidentally. You didn't hear that? Oh, when I talked about the podcast, yeah, that like when you first meet him, they're poking him and everything, and I'm just I'm not going to participate, but you guys have fun. Like, I don't really feel like fighting. And then like he broke out of his cage, and then I was helping them like fight this big bear, and then like when the bear got down to 0 hit points, I realized it was him. So then I started fighting the goblins, but by the time I killed them, like he was still mad at me. So I was trying to knock him out, so that it's instead of killing him, so that I could just explain what went wrong. And then he threw like a fireball that knocked one of the braziers on the ceiling onto him, and it killed him. And so he's dead now, and dead forever. So I never got a chance to hang out with that kid. Yeah.
I have a dead character also. But one of my dead characters is a character on the fucking box art. So apparently the Githyanki
oh yeah.
I could not find her, right?
Yeah,
I couldn't find her.
Here, that's
my sweet Dami girlfriend. That's who you killed.
Lae'zel. So if you don't get to Lae'zel and you go through a couple long rests, like you just find her body. Now here's the thing. I did that, but I was just like, obviously I'm gonna resurrect her, so I just used the scroll of Revivify, and she was like, "Oh shit, what up?" Like,
oh shit, you could do that.
Yeah, you could do
that. See, again, I'm not used to all this different type of
and real worst case scenario, you can go to Withers and be like, hey, like bring them back to life.
Exactly.
He didn't give me the option though, right?
Well, because she wasn't dead.
I think she has to like be in your party, like after the prologue for a hot second for him to be able to bring anybody back.
Because I went up and I was on this like cliff and I saw this like elf, and I was like, what are you doing? And she was just looking down she was up high, and she was looking down and look at these people. And I'm like, what you doing? And she was like, I'm minding my business. Bye. And I'm like, well, fuck you then, right? Like, and all of a sudden, like, here's a dragon. Like a dragon comes, and my party is like, we should probably steer clear of this, man. Like, that's a dragon, that's a dragon.
That dude's got a red dragon. We should not be fucking with that.
Right. I was like, all right, you know what? You right. I'm gone. And then by the time I kind of mosey on back there, a couple of hours later, I see this like Githyanki party, but I'm panning the battlefield, and I'm like, yo, that's her, yo. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So I took them out, and then like I thought she's just like gone. So I was just like, all right, waste not, want not, and then just take all her clothes. And
Now here's the thing. I lost a
gone.
different party member at the end of Act 2. I just got to like the start of Act 3, so I'm doing some stuff in basically like in the outskirts of the city right now. I lost a party member at the end of Act 2 basically because I did not use them enough during the course of Act 2 to advance their companion plot enough. So they were just like, I'm out of here, I got shit to take care of. Which I wasn't expecting to happen. Which sucks because I wanted to use that dude in Act 3 and didn't do it, which is fine. It's like I'm not going to replay all of Act 2.
Right. Well,
I'm
and
not
like I said,
doing it.
I think that's the kind of stuff you can kind of let it lie, like
Yeah.
where it lies. I mean, that's the time with Lazelle. Like Lazelle, I was fucking around, like not messing around, like finding the creche, and she's like, "We are doing this right now," or I am fucking
exactly.
Audi 5000. I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I guess we'll go hang out with your people.
Yeah,
Like, that's fun.
And doing the creche before the end of Act 2 provides a lot of experience points and probably a very useful level up before you do the big climactic fight of the end of Act 2. But yeah, if you can't tell, I've also been playing a lot of Baldur Gate 3.
Man, you have no idea. I'm this close to just turning this PlayStation on right now, running back to where her body is, and just using the scroll of revivify.
Yes.
What
Yes.
is it?
Revivify.
Okay, I feel like an old man.
But,
Because I was kind of upset, man. Like I need another
I have
fighter.
Lazelle has inadvertently became one of my main party members basically because of how I kept using her in Act 2 because so much of her personal story stuff comes up over the course of Act 2. But you know, her fighter subclass, which is Battle Master, I think I went with whatever the one is that has like the maneuvers. I find her to be super fun to play with. The thing that I really enjoy about Baldur's Gate 3 is the fact that like I've played a lot of D&D in my life, but in the grand scheme of things, I've basically only been a part of like a handful of pretty long running campaigns. So it's dumping me into character styles that I would never really pick for myself at a table campaign. So to be able to do like fighter stuff and barbarian stuff, where I typically pick caster classes, like my character in Baldur's Gate 3 is a bard, because I like bards, because I like to be able to talk my way out of situations. There's an encounter in Act 2 in Baldur's Gate 3 where I basically talked my way out of what would have been a very difficult boss fight by basically being like, nah, you wrong. Like, nah, just like tricking this dude into his own head with a certain flavor of logic. And
I wonder if it's the same fight that I need to replay because I lost it the first time and found out that was a devastating thing to happen to the world. So I'm like, I think I'm gonna do this fight again because if I'd like to win this fight because I don't want the negative repercussions.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's Baldur's Gate's really good. I'm really glad that a lot of people who didn't play Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 are now jumping on with 3 too. So
I spent about 2.5 hours making my character.
Of course you do.
My time was limited, so I was like, all right, I gotta hurry up and finish making this character. And I'm like, all right, I think I'm satisfied. And then I hit the button, and it's like, now you got to create somebody else. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, all right, I'm just gonna have to suspend this because this is gonna.
I feel like that second character is like, well, at least so far it is less important as far as getting them exactly what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I it didn't take that long for the second character, but I just thought that was funny. It was like, oh, okay, you think you're done? No, you're not done. Yeah, man, that game is really fun. I'm really enjoying myself. I'm kind of savoring this. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to get the most out of my time with it. Like I don't play it while the kids are awake. You know what I mean? Because I don't feel like them bothering me while I'm playing it. So I'm not as far as I'd like to be, but I'm in the Underdark. Yeah, the Underdark.
Yeah.
I'm in the Underdark. Trying to find my way around. Or I just popped out of it. I found my way through, and now I
Oh,
popped out
did
of
you
it.
find the forge and everything too down there?
Uh,
Hmm.
no, I
so
went down there.
so you're not
Apparently, I gotta
done
go back.
in the Underdark.
Apparently, I gotta go back. No, there's actually a quest. There's a quest down there that I have to do, but I want to. I got through the Underdark, and I want to find a like a fast travel point. I forget what they call them, but I want to find a fast
Waypoint.
travel point.
Have
I'll
you
try.
found a
Yeah.
boat in the Underdark yet?
No,
Okay.
when I first got into the Underdark, heard all this ruckus, and then there was this Minotaur just like bang, 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 acting like my son trying to bust through this baby gate that I have on my side of the room. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on, yo? And I see that he was getting his ass handed to him by I guess the keepers of the Underdark. I don't know, but I'll have to make my way back, but I want to find a waypoint above it so that I can go back
Oh,
and kind of
I wonder
explore
how
a
you
little more.
entered it then, because I found an
I entered it.
interesting entrance.
I entered it through the goblin cave
That's
or
not
hideout.
that's not the entrance that I found to get down
Okay.
there.
See, but that's
Yeah.
dope, right?
Yeah.
Like this game is so polished, and it's like they thought of everything. Um, yeah, man, I really enjoy it. Like the hype is real, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Very cool. That's awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna look forward to hearing some of your tales and yours, Carrie, as well for as you go through the game. Because like I said, I've spent about like 35. Like I haven't played it much since I was on last time because I've been doing other stuff. But like I said, I do plan on definitely going back to it because it's just cool, and I could see myself playing that, like doing multiple playthroughs of that just to see different things how they unfold using different characters and that sort of thing. So
By the way, Will kind of sucks, man. I'm sad to say, but Will
Will
kind of
Will
sucks.
Will isn't my favorite, and I think for me it's largely just because of like the lack of good utility for warlocks. He's just like
Yeah,
he's not a good dude to have in a party. I think his story is good, and so much of his companion quest is just like parallel to like shit you're going to encounter on the main storyline anyway. So you get to know Will really well, and I think Will as a character is fun when it comes to like his story stuff.
mhm.
Um, I like Will's story stuff quite a lot. I just don't like having him as a party member because
yeah,
why
man.
the fuck would I have a warlock when I could have a wizard?
Right.
Like it's not as good. It's not it's objectively not as good. Like
Or a cleric who is like
or a cleric or
stupid
a
good in this game.
sorcerer or
Yeah.
literally any other fucking caster class. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
warlocks in this game. I mean warlocks in general. It's look, having played warlocks, warlocks can be really fun if you know how to build them and if you have the right subclass and basically know how to flavor them really well. And Will's particular flavor in this game does not have a lot of practicality in terms of him being in the active party.
Yeah.
I think Will has a killer storyline, and I like Will a lot as like a dude. He's a really interesting dude. I think his story, the more you get into it, becomes a lot more interesting. I don't want him in my party. He sucks.
Yeah, man. I was real disappointed because like I want to
Why
get
would you
into
have Will when
his
you could have Gale?
right. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
The
Yo.
only thing
Like
you're missing out on is fucking Eldritch Blast, which, in the grand scheme of things, Eldritch Blast can become a very powerful part of your toolkit if you build up Will in a very specific kind of way. But, I look, I would rather, I ended up going Arcane Trickster for Asterion, and so I've got a rogue with magic missile, which is basically as good, if not better, than a fucking warlock with Eldritch Blast. So
yeah, man. I was really kind of disappointed. Like like what do you do?
The thing is, like, you can really sort of build him up. I mean, ultimately, he's not going to leave the party, mostly because you're going to end up inadvertently advancing a lot of his character quest. So by the time you get to Act 3, he may become far more useful at that point. But in terms of like the early game, like Act 1, Act 2, like into most of Act 2, it's not worth having him taking up a party slot.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
not.
And I will say, like, I found him more useful in Act 2 just because magic users become more useful in the second act. Like, in the first act, like, I fucking deployed the Sisters of Destruction and just let Lae'zel and Karlach just, like, run roughshod through everybody, because you could just bash the shit out of things without having to really worry about it.
Karlach, barbarians have always been really good.
Yo, Karlach is stupid good. Yo.
Karlach's
Like,
stupid
Jesus
good, and she's
Christ.
fucking hot, and she's a great character, and yeah, it's look, Karlach is by far and away my favorite character in this game. I ended up going the wild magic barbarian with her, which adds a level of randomness to her rages. But sometimes she gets the ability to teleport once per turn for free, which is really useful when she's got, 2 or 3 attacks that she can make every single round, where you can smack a dude, kill him, and then teleport across the battlefield to go kill someone else. Like, it's ridiculous how good she is.
Yeah, I've heard fucking bulldozing people and Lae'zel just, like, leaping and teleporting from from spot to spot. I'm just like, man, like, I'm just gonna stand back here and just fucking shoot my arrows and let you guys do your thing. Like, it's gonna be good. Me and Gale just hanging out in the background. He's like, I'll throw some missiles. That's cool. Like, I'll just let them beat up on things. It'll be fun. So, very cool. Yeah, fucking what a game Baldur's Gate 3 is. Carrie, you also you put in quotes finished Tears of the Kingdom. I take that to mean you rolled credits on
Yeah,
Tears
I
of the
rolled
Kingdom?
credits on Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, I did that last week. Basically because I was in California and I didn't want to come back and start Starfield without finishing the main story of Tears of the Kingdom. And at that point, I had been at the point where my main story quest was destroy Ganondorf.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, I'm just gonna do it. And I had spent so much time like beefing up my armor and my stats and all that, where I was like, it's probably not going to be very hard, and it wasn't very hard. The second phase of that Ganondorf fight can kiss my ass, though. Like, it's just like once he gains the ability to fucking dodge and flurry rush your shit. It reminded me of the Dark Link fight from Ocarina of Time, when that motherfucker jumps on your sword and kicks you in the teeth every time you swing at him. I thought it was annoying, more than fun. The other phases of that fight I thought were fun. That was annoying. But that game's really good. Tears of the Kingdom's really good. It has been a remarkable year for games. I mean, just between the games that we are talking about tonight, it has been a fucking S tier year for games in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom's really good, and I'm really looking forward to basically spending a little bit more time with it. I've probably got 25 hours worth of side quests to still do in that game. I've got all the shrines left to finish and all that. I can see, with like the heroes quest tracker on the map, there's plenty of areas of the map that I haven't even fucking been to yet. So I'm looking forward. I mean, there's a lot of the depths I didn't do. There's a bunch of like optional big optional underground bosses I just didn't do yet. So yeah, I'm looking forward to spending more time with that game, but I'm also glad that I rolled credits and that I didn't have to like feel bad for not finishing the game after a few months, when I knew I was going to come home and immediately install Starfield. God, I really hope that like this particular incarnation of Princess Zelda gets to take a fucking vacation after this shit, though. Like, can we talk about that? Like, in the events leading up to Breath of the Wild, she was basically bullied by her dad into awakening her power, which she struggled and struggled and struggled with. And then the calamity happens, and her power finally activates, and she uses it to basically keep herself in suspended animation to contain the calamity for 100 years. And then after that, she gets like a few years break, maybe 5, let's say, between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Then Tears of the Kingdom happened, and her ass gets yeeted thousands of years into the past, where she has to deal with the threat of the Demon King Ganondorf, and then and then she gets, spoilers if you haven't gotten a big spoiler
skip
here.
ahead 60 seconds. I'm
yeah,
aware of the
skip
spoiler,
ahead 60 seconds. She fucking turns into a dragon, and lives as a basically mindless immortal dragon trying to restore the Master Sword for, let's say, 5 to 10,000 years in the whatever the ancient Hyrule was. And then the Demon King Ganondorf is destroyed, and she's finally like, "Oh man, I'm back." And it's just like, sis, I hope Link fucking gets this bitch a spa day. I swear to God, like.
It was funny. She goes through all that, and people still confuse her for the guy.
Yep.
Right? Like, people still think, oh, it's the Legend of Zelda.
But
that guy.
That's the thing, right? Is like, it's her actions in these two games that really establish it as her legend. Like, he is an extension of that, but it's her actions that really enable him to succeed over the course of these two games, especially. So, I don't know. It was a good game. I hope this particular version of Princess Zelda gets to take a fucking vacation. Like, I hope she gets a beach day. Tears of the Kingdom's really good. And in terms of like game of the year, there is such stiff competition for it, just between these two games that we've talked about so far tonight.
Yes. All right. So a little game from a small independent studio called Bethesda Game Studios released as well this past week, called Starfield. A lot of hype, of course, surrounding this game. We don't get a new BGS game, but every couple of years. Of course, this is the first one in a brand new universe that they've done since the Elder Scrolls started, pretty much.
Yep.
So let's start, and I want to go Carrie, Micah, and then me, because again, Carrie is our resident Bethesda super fan. Micah is the guy who will finish a Bethesda game, but doesn't necessarily like go back and replay them. And I'm the one that has bounced rather hard off of every BGS game that I've ever played. So first of all, top line, how much have you played? Initial overall impressions, and then we'll dig into the nitty gritty.
I've only played about 10 hours, mostly because Baldur's Gate 3 has been really holding my attention so much over the last week, even still. And I'm honestly, I still play a lot of Final Fantasy 14 too. So I'm a little all over the place. So according to Steam, I am 9.4 hours in, which is really just scratching the surface. I've only done the first handful of quests, really. That being said, I like it quite a lot, but on a level it's not the instant click with me that like a Fallout or an Elder Scrolls game has in the past. Like, I still feel like I'm kind of finding my way through all of these new systems that they have. Figuring out like what I should be putting my skill points into. Just a lot of, I feel in a lot of ways I'm sort of like fumbling my way through this early game. And that seems to be sort of like a general consensus, is that the early game in Starfield is kind of weak. But that once you get past a certain point in the main storyline, it really opens up and becomes a lot more engaging and immersive. So it's not like by any means a bad first impression of the game or anything like that, but it's taking a little longer to sort of like hook me in the same way that Fallout and Elder Scrolls have historically tended to.
All right. How about you, Micah?
So I probably put more time into this just because I can play it while watching the kids because it's not like it's very sanitized Starfield. Like it's very much like I've played it long enough to get married. So I've put quite a bit of time into it. I think the last mission, I'm trying to find the last mission I did in Starfield. It was called Further into the Unknown. That's the one that I finished. So if you know where that's where I'm at. And the main story takes a bit of getting used to. Like I'm not like the main story is like we are explorers and we want to find these MacGuffins. And you find this MacGuffin, and then you find this MacGuffin, and then you find this MacGuffin, and sometimes it's not even like a fight at the end of. Sometimes you just gotta go and up. There it is. Okay, let's go. But it feels different in terms of what Bethesda usually does, but it's very much a Bethesda game. Like they these people aren't like a bunch of bloodthirsty maniacs. I appreciate this game being its own. It's not like a Fallout clone. It's not just Fallout in space in terms of like the story, but it's Fallout in space in terms of like this is a Bethesda game and you're going to do similar types of quests, and there's still this weird like uncanny valley automaton thing that every NPC character that you talk to has, right? Like it's like everything up here is stiff and then we're just moving the bottom of our paces. Right? It's weird. But I expected that. It is holding my attention and I do want to finish because I like this setting. It's probably my favorite Bethesda game. Again, a lot of it is because of the setting, but there's a lot of like annoying things about it regarding inventory management, but that's like always a thing. And then like navigating menus and like trying to get from one place to another. Like there are different ways you can do it. And I understand this game is very big. It would have been cool to be able to like, you know, get in your ship and do the No Man's Sky thing and just like travel into the upper atmosphere. But like, I get it. It's not a big deal, but just kind of getting around, even saving the game takes like 3 or 4 button presses, which is just weird to me. But overall, I do enjoy it. I am enjoying it. I am having a good time. I would go out and buy it if you're curious. Absolutely. But yeah, it's not. Don't expect this game to be anything more than a Bethesda game in space. If you go in with that, you will enjoy yourself.
So I have to preface mine. So the reason I bounced off Bethesda games specifically is because me and Mike are very similar in that we are like RPG maximizers. Like when we play, like we want to do everything, right? And I don't think that Bethesda's games are necessarily built in that way, like to play them that way. Like I like the opportunities there, but I don't think that's how they're designed. And one of the things that playing Baldur's Gate 3, funnily enough, kind of like just unlocked in my brain was like, hey, like actually no, like when if the game gives you the ability to like role play, like you can just do that, right? Like you don't have to treat the game like it's a checklist of things you need to accomplish. Like you can just play a character and do that. And so that's kind of like how I've approached Starfield is I kind of, you know, I created a backstory for my character and, you know, use the trait system in the game and I have like a headcanon and I've unlocked the mystery. Like I finally found a Bethesda game that I'm like all fucking in on. I've played like 35 hours so far. And I'm having I'm having a really good time. And it's because I'm not sitting there trying to want to do everything, especially because of something that like systems they have in this game. Like, and I don't mind, this isn't really a spoiler. There is a new game plus in this game, which they haven't ever had before. And that is helpful to me because now I don't feel like I have to do everything. Like, because like it doesn't make sense to have, you know, to do all of the faction side quests in one playthrough. Because like in Skyrim, like does it make sense to join the Sorcerer's Guild and the Dark Brotherhood and the Thieves Guild all at the same time? Like thematically,
I mean, I can be a sorcerer and an assassin and a thief, Brad. Shut up.
but like thematically,
no,
not
I understand
really.
what I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying. What I've basically been seeing online is that it's almost worth it to basically just like blast through the fucking main quest
Mhm.
because of how things open up on a New Game Plus.
Mhm.
And that it's not even really worth worrying too much about the side stuff on your initial playthrough. Just like focus down that main quest, get through it, and then carry your character into New Game Plus. And then see how
Yeah.
things happen there. So that's honestly probably what I'm going to end up doing, just because of like that has universally been what I've been seeing.
Yeah. Well, so like I'm like taking again, like I'm basically doing what feels right and what makes sense for my character. So like the backstory I have for my character is like he's basically like a Han Solo archetype. Like he was like a smuggler, and I have the wanted trait. So like they're like apparently I pissed off a bounty hunter or I pissed off somebody somewhere along the line, and they send bounty hunters after me. So like occasionally when I fly off a planet, there or fly into a new system, there's like a bounty hunter ship that's waiting for me that I either have to fucking blow up or like bribe to go away, essentially. I don't know if that leads to anything. I kind of hope it does. Like that'd be really cool if it kind of leads to like a ultimate payoff at the end, where you confront like the person who, because I don't know who has the bounty against me. I just know that these bounty hunters are trying to track me down, and so like, you know, in my headcanon, like my dude, like he became a miner to kind of lay low, and then all this shit fucking popped off, and you know I was kind of reluctant to join Constellation, and then it's well, I guess I'll hang out with you guys and do this fucking space shit, and that'll be fun. But I don't really have like I kind of kept it at arm's length. Like I didn't really get on with any of the characters until I met Andreja, and I'm like, oh, this is my girl. Like we're kindred spirits. Like you and me are like we're like the same. Like this is great. Like you don't mind all the kind of because like my dude doesn't mind like killing a spacer, or killing a pirate. Like I don't mind pulling out a gun and shooting somebody. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I'm the same. I'm like, me and you were riding together forever. Then like this is gonna be great. And so and like to you guys' point, like the main story takes a while to get going, but I think once you hit a certain point in the main story, it gets very interesting because it has like a big mystery aspect involved, and you're kind of peeling back layers of that mystery, and I think that's pretty cool. The faction quests, like I've kind of come by them naturally because they're like, you know, like one of the first things you get when you land on New Atlantis is like, hey, go talk to this dude to join the UC Vanguard, and I went and talked to him, and he's like, oh, you should sign up for the UC Vanguard and help us patrol the systems, and like basically like we're like a volunteer militia. And I was like, you know what, dude? Like, I don't think so. Like, that's not really going to vibe with me. And so I'm just not going to join the fucking Vanguard. But meanwhile, I did a mission in the main quest, and Carrie, I'll be vague, so I'm not spoiling anything. Micah might have already done this one, where I ended up on a ship with a bit of an eccentric captain, and he had something that I needed to get from him, and I had to resort to piracy to do it. And so upon coming back to New Atlantis, the cops are like, well, you're under arrest, like, for what you did. I'm like, well, fuck. So then I go to jail, and they're like, well, you could sit in jail, or you could become a narc for us. And I'm like, well, I guess I don't have a choice. Guess I'm going to be a narc. And so, and so that's how I got into one of the faction quest line, because that made sense. Same thing with, like, the Freestar Rangers. They're like, oh, man, you sure helped us defuse that bank robbery. Want to join the Freestar Rangers?
I just did that quest.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what?
like,
I don't
no.
actually. Like, sorry.
I'm not gonna do that.
Or what is it? AC.
ACAB.
Yeah, or ASCAB. All space cops are bad. So we're not. So I don't want to, except for Sam Coe. Like he's cool. Like I didn't like you at first, but now that I've learned more about you and the relationship with your daughter, I feel you more. The story's taken some unexpected turns. Like they hit me with a gut punch out of nowhere, that I'm not going to get into, and I don't think that what happened on my playthrough is necessarily what happens on everybody's playthrough, which is also cool, because there's a lot of points in this game where you have to make decisions, and those decisions do seem to have immediate affects whether or not you do those. And I've also been enjoying the other shit you can do, like there's a little bit of No Man's Sky in this, where you can just kind of like pop down to a planet and scan shit and just explore and see what you come across. And some of that's kind of lame, but sometimes it's not. I'll tell you what I really got into is fucking shipbuilding. Holy shit, I've spent so much time in the fucking shipbuilding menu. Just sitting making ships and checking, and not even actually building them, but just kind of seeing like what's possible. And like what I could do, and kind of making plans for down the road. Because the only thing that not the only thing, one of the things that the game does that pisses me off is that you can't just buy like a new ship registration. Like you have to have an existing ship to modify, and then you can strip that ship down to nothing and rebuild it from nothing. But you can't just be like, hey, like I just want to build a new ship. It doesn't work that way. You have to either steal a ship.
I did just buy my second ship because I needed something better than the piece of shit you start with.
Oh, Carrie, I have 4 ships and I haven't had to buy a single one. So,
well, I know you can just take them and whatnot, but I had a lot of.
Not only that, but again, like not to spoil stuff, but like it does do the Bethesda thing too, where there's just like random side quests that you come upon.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the Radiant quest system.
Yeah, that not even the Radiant quest. Like they have scripted quests that you just happen upon that just like begin very unsuspectingly. And then, unfold into this like really crazy thing. You get to not to like, I'm hesitant to spoil this and I'm not going to tell you how to do it. You can basically become Space Batman in this game if you want to. complete with ship and costume. So
all right. I did get a really good suit really early game. And apparently everybody's been doing this by peeking through the crack of a certain display case that you get early on. That it's where it's like it's a master lock, but like if you angle your fucking hub correctly, you can just access the mannequin and swipe the suit out from over there. So I did that.
Well, but the other like the cool thing, like the Space Batman thing, is not just like a one-off, because like if you fly around in the Space Batman ship, like there are times where like you'll run across spacers and they'll be like, oh no, like it's the fucking Space Batman, like we have to get the and like they'll bug out of the system rather than fight you and shit like that.
That's funny.
So I've really been,
damn, I want to be Space Batman.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna tell you how to get it. Like you're gonna have to figure it out.
Fuck you then.
I mean, I can tell you offline. I'm not gonna spoil it on the show.
I mean, don't do it. Look, the one thing that I recently did that I really enjoyed was I found like an abandoned space casino.
Oh yeah, I found that. I found that too. The zero G one.
Yeah, where like the gravity's turned off and it's just full of spacers, and there's like a good amount of loot in there that you can get, a good amount of credits you can get out of that place. But yeah, I was just like, this is weird. And I thought it was a really good demonstration of like zero G gunfight, which I assume there will be more of in the game, but it was such a good early game moment of just coming across like an abandoned space station that was full of good shit and also full of people who clearly wanted to kill me.
Did you use a ballistic weapon while you were fighting in zero G?
Yeah. It just knocked me
just
back.
Rockets you backwards.
Yeah.
like I like that's in there. Like okay, so those are our top line impressions. So I guess we should get the bad. Let's get the bad out of the way. Like what are the things that are really grinding your gears playing this game? Because I've got a couple things.
The game's kind of jank. The game's kind of jank, and I've got a pretty decent PC. And it's running a little chunky on my system, which is unfortunate. That's really it. I mean, it's like I am no stranger to slow starts to big video games. I've played Persona 5 3 times through. That has an excruciatingly long, first dungeon, basically. Probably longer than this, but there's something about this, like it's dragging a little bit for me, and I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot to learn right away, and I don't think the game does an especially good job at ramping you up into it. It's just like, congratulations, you're in space. You got all these systems, fucking figure it out.
I don't think the game does as good a job as other Bethesda games have done as far as like an inciting event goes. Because like what's the inciting event? Like you pick up this artifact and you have this vision, and then all of a sudden like a space dude comes down and is like, you actually need to go take my ship and go to this planet. Like that's a weird start. Like in Elder Scrolls, like you're going to jail and then a fucking dragon attacks the town that you're going to, and like you have to, and like that's an exciting way to like I know that quest is a meme at this point because of how long it takes and it's unskippable, but like that's a pretty fucking exciting way to start your game, and then you fight another dragon within like an hour, within 90 minutes of starting a new game of Skyrim.
And then
I hear you, but like that, you just described the beginning of the first Mass Effect. You know what I mean? Like you go down to Eden Prime, you touch something, you have a vision, and then some black dude says, "Hey, take my ship."
Yeah, but then you start running around the station and you're fighting monsters and stuff like that.
I'm just having fun.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Brad, because I think of let's look at the last 15 years of mainline franchise Bethesda titles. Fallout 4 literally opens with the bombs dropping and you running to the shelter and then being cryogenically frozen for however fucking long, right? 300 years, however long it is. That's an incredible way to start that game. Fallout 3's opening notoriously sucks and takes forever, but I think has a good hook to it at the end of the day.
But you still, like, the thing that Fallout has that still works is the opening of the vault. Like when you first get to step outside the vault,
that's
like,
really it too. And even in New Vegas, where you don't fucking start in a vault, you start that game being shot in the head by the guy from Friends. Matthew Perry, you son of a bitch. And then like even like the as you said, Skyrim sort of has a bit of that meme of an opener. But it's exciting. Like you literally have your head on the fucking executioner's block, and then a dragon comes and fucks everybody's day up. And then even to go back to Oblivion, like you start in jail, and then like the king busts your ass out. Like there's a lot going on in all of these games, so it does feel very benign in comparison to just have a game where it's just like you pick up an artifact, you have a very nondescript vision of space in the space game, and then you have to start going and doing something, and that's why I think it's taking so long for this game to like really hook me in the same way, is because that instigating event is very by comparison.
Yeah, so. The main story really doesn't get going until not even like there's a tentpole event that happens kind of at the end of Act 1, and then even like it still takes a mission or two beyond that for things to really get compelling.
When you grab an artifact and then you're hailed once you leave that planet. Yeah. That's when the game is like, oh shit. Like that's when things really kick into gear. And I got to that point at about hour 30.
Oh wow. So you're still playing like the maximalist playthrough in a lot of ways. Like you're checking your boxes.
I was trying, and then it got to the point where it's like, all right, the Vanguard is cool and all, but you know me, I'm a military porn guy, but I kind of want to push through this. And I've read that also, that if you kind of go through the main story, like I was laughing at that quote that the one designer for this game said, the game really opens up once you finish it, right? And I'm like, well, that's kind of silly, right? But everyone is saying it. Like you said, everyone is saying, get through that main game, get through the main quest. New Game Plus is absolutely worth it. And the fact that I can just keep my skill points, that's fine, because like the skill points are a bit of a grind. Killing all those ships.
I do want to talk about that. So like, I've always admired the Elder Scrolls leveling system where it's just like, hey, if you want to get better at something, just do that thing and you'll get better at it. Like, I think that that's cool and rather underutilized in games. Like, I'm surprised more games haven't like glommed onto that. I kind of like this Starfield's, like, it's almost like a hybrid system between a traditional leveling system and what Skyrim does, because the way that Starfield's perk system works, for those that are uninitiated, is that there's like a shitload of perks that you have available to you in different categories, and there's like 4 tiers in each category, and obviously they get better, and the more points you spend in each category, the more options you get to unlock perks in that category. But you can unlock the level 1 of any perk that you have access to with a skill point, no problem. And then you can make that perk better by just doing the thing. So, like, if you want to get better at lockpicking, go pick some locks, and
pick a lot of locks.
and you'll get better. And then you can spend future skill points to level up that specific skill to open up new avenues of gameplay. And I like it because it's not too generous. Like, it really does force you to play the game a specific way when you're playing it. Like, you have to specialize in certain things. You cannot be like, you can either be a jack of all trades, master of none, or have a very focused build where you're really good at a couple things and terrible at everything else. But that's cool. Like, I like the fact that you're forced to make that decision in the game as well. And I'm really enjoying kind of playing with that. This is the only game I've ever played where, like, when I level up and gain a skill point, like, I'm not rushing to the skill menu to use it. Like, I'm going to keep that in my back pocket because I don't know what I want to spend this on yet, and I want to see, like, where I want to focus my attention on that to see where it's going to be most useful, and I don't necessarily know the answer to that question right now.
Yeah, because those things come at a premium. Yeah, I don't like the menus are fine. It's just
There's too
a
many
lot
of
them.
them. You're in them too much.
Yeah, I'm just in them a lot, and it's just it feels overly cumbersome. I like the people in Constellation, but like I said, I just got married, and it's hard playing this game with its companions next to Baldur's Gate. Like, the writing is just the writing is just on a totally different level with Baldur's Gate, and your companions that you are, like, they're so interesting to talk to, they're interesting to look at. They're not like, they don't look like, hi, yes, this is me, I am not a robot, like, and then you come to Starfield, and the writing's fine, the performances are, good to okay to good, right? Like, Sarah can be, like, if you chose Sarah to pursue, she gets a little melodramatic, and it just is off-putting. Coupled with the fact that, like, everyone's dead on the inside, it's just weird. But yeah, it's on a, and I don't know if I should knock Starfield for that, but like, I'm playing a game that has taken into account, like, camera placement when you're talking to people, right? Like, not everything
As opposed
is
to just like the dead on
center.
fucking.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's that, like, people don't talk like that. People don't have conversations like that in real life.
It's funny because I also didn't much care for the companions, but I find that the more you unlock of them, like the more you travel with them, and the more that you advance your relationships with them, the more interesting they become. Yeah, because like Andreja, for example, like, has this entire backstory, which is really interesting, that doesn't really unfold until you've spent, like, a fairly decent amount of time with her. Like it took a long time to crack, but, like, when she finally kind of, like, confided to me, like, what her deal is, I was A, super surprised, and B, like it led to kind of an intriguing personal mission that you can go on with her, which I thought was pretty cool as well. And again, Sam Coe is the same way. Like, Sam Coe, I could not stand when I first met
Yeah,
him.
he's got like Caden vibes for me, man.
Yeah, but he gets cooler as he warms up to you and kind of like lets you know about his life a little bit more and his relationship and how he ended up with Cora I've almost learned about his former like Cora's mom, but he's like it's like I'm not ready to talk about that yet. So like I gotta hang out with him a little bit more to kind of get the mystery there. But that's been cool, and the fact that he travels around with a precocious little child is also fun because she just
Yeah, that's super interesting.
she fucking shakes you down for book money constantly. So
not the only little kid in Starfield, by the way. Not the only little kid, which is odd. Not odd, but like, oh wow, this is kind of refreshing that like children also exist in video games. Yeah, I Sarah's the same way, right? She's kind of like a fuddy-duddy, like a female parody of Hugh Grant, right? Right? Like she's just befuddled, like charmingly befuddled all the time. But she's got some skeletons in her past that make her a little more interesting. Now that I've kind of maxed out my relationship with her, I'm going to move on to Barrett simply because I want to be homeboys in outer space. And it is just like, seeing two black people in space for me is just, mwah, I love it. I need it. I need it in my life. But yeah, combat is fine.
I really like the combat. I'm having a good old time. Just because the weapon, you're going to appreciate this, Micah. Do you know what the combat feels like to me? It felt like if the combat in this game is if BioWare's combat designers designed Destiny. That's what the combat is in this game.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Right? I know exactly what you mean.
Not having played Destiny.
Like the gunplay feels good, but not great. But there's also like a tremendous array of weapons with different perks that you can use and you can modify and stuff like that, and that's cool. And that's what makes it really fun is getting to fuck with all the different guns and stuff they have in the game. And so like, and that's where the Destiny part comes in. Is like the Destiny part is like I'm always carrying 15 different guns with me that I'll switch between on varying occasions. Same in this game where I always have like 6 or 7 guns with me at any given time and all of them have their very specific use case that I need them for. And I love tinkering with them on the workbench and putting new mods in them. And when I find like a new rare gun or a legendary gun, I'm like, ooh, like what perks do you have that I can, that can help me out? Like the gun that fucking, irradiates people when you shoot them. And I have one that has like the Predator recon sight on it and shit like that. Like that's the part of the combat that's interesting for me. Like the mechanics of combat are fine. And it's definitely the best BGS game from a combat standpoint, like by far.
Oh yeah, like it's not responsive, but for a Bethesda game, it's super responsive, right? Like it feels great for a Bethesda game, right? Like, and I don't mean to, like, I don't put that qualifier on there as like too much of an insult, but yeah, like it's fine. Like if I point a specific gun, it will hit its target, right? If I have a rifle that's just like the Clob from GoldenEye, which just shoots in every fucking direction, like it'll do that, and I got to get up on people. So
and it even does the Destiny thing where early in the game, like I pick up every gun that I find, and now that I'm like in the game, I'm like, if you're not purple, I don't give a shit. Like I'm not even gonna fucking touch you.
It's like, get the fuck out of here. I don't need your credits. I don't need to sell this. Get out of
here. So Carrie, you'll have to answer because the biggest issue that I had early on in the game is, and still continue to have to some extent. Is this like the worst game? And you might not be far enough in that this is a major problem. Is this the worst Bethesda game for encumbrance that they've ever had? Because it's
it's pretty fucking bad. I'm mad. I can't pick up everything like I would in literally any other game. I'm pretty salty about it, honestly.
Let me tell you something. Outpost building is hard because you need a shitload of resources to build outpost, and if you don't get in to either outpost building or building mods for everything, you are gonna run like I'm literally designing my ships around what can I do to hold the most cargo and not look stupid. Like I want the ship to look cool, but I need boxes. I need boxes so bad to hold things. Like that's where I'm at with this game. Like it's literally the balancing act of, like I said, how much things can I hold, and can I make the ship look cool while doing it? And that's a little annoying, I will say. Like, even to this, like I've built a couple of small outposts, and I'm still having the problem of where do I store all my machined components and things that weigh a lot, but where else am I going to put them but my ship hold?
I don't know if I have the patience for shipbuilding. I really don't. But the problem is, like, I don't like the way any of the available ships look. Like, I don't like.
I don't know if you started the Crimson Fleet quest yet, but they have cooler looking ships than
They do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not joining them. I've got a soldier background. My parents gave me a ship. It looks like a station wagon, but it's better than the one I have.
Yeah.
My
Frontier looks like a giant turtle. Like I modified it to carry more things, and so it looks like a big turtle. Now, the ship that I'm actually using looks more badass, but still very large. And again, well, I say large for a Class A ship. Like, I haven't built like a B or C ship yet, because I don't have that kind of money. But I will eventually, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, I enjoy this game. I enjoy it. It might be my favorite Bethesda game. Like I can see myself playing this over. It's a lot of it has to do with the setting. But the fact that it's the setting, it's their most polished game. I've only had 3 crashes. And it's still got this, like the stupid Bethesda, like if you start a conversation with someone and they're not like in place, like the camera will get all wonky and stuff like that. But I don't, that doesn't really grind my gears a lot. But yeah, it's just an odd thing playing these 2 games in tandem with one another. Like, you can see the difference, and both of these are like high quality AAA type, games, but like one is damn near perfect, and the other is Starfield, right? Like, but yeah, I'm enjoying it though. I am very much enjoying it.
Well, and
I put more hours in this than I have in Baldur's Gate.
I'm getting different things from them. Like Starfield is more about like cool things that you can do, like that are scripted in the game, and Baldur's Gate is very much like cool things you can do that are unexpected, and also the friends you made along the way, kind of sort of thing. Like, it's much less about the story of Baldur's Gate 3 than it is about the experience of playing Baldur's Gate 3. And with Starfield, it's kind of like where you are inside of this whole world. I kind of like that you are sort of a cog in this world, not to get anything into the spoiler, but like obviously like your importance in one way grows, but I still feel like I'm just kind of a dude in this world, which is cool. So
yeah, I really dig it.
All right, so Carrie, if you would be so kind, take us through the 2 small stories that we have this week, and then we will read your questions on the
Sure.
air.
So I believe the last time I was on the show, we briefly discussed the fact that Charles Martinet, the long time and until now only voice of one Mario brother, actually all of the Mario brothers, he's the voice of Luigi and Waluigi and Mario too. It was announced that he was no longer going to be the voice of Mario after almost 30 years in the role, which is just an exceedingly long time for any voice actor to be doing like one role, much less a role as significant as Mario, who's like as recognizable as fucking Mickey Mouse. Starting with Mario Brothers Wonder, we will get a new voice of Mario. They still haven't announced what that is, but they did put out a video this past week basically of Charles Martinet and Shigeru Miyamoto recognizing the fact that Martinet had been doing this role for so long and sort of explaining what his next steps are going to be, saying that he's going to take on the role of Mario ambassador and that he is going to continue to let's say bring that joy and help us all remember our innocence and our happiness and our joy through great games. So basically what this means is he's probably just going to end up doing press tours on behalf of Nintendo and probably hosting events here and there in person and signing autographs and meeting fans and doing a lot of what he's already been doing. Because Charles Martinet is a guy who has frequently been on the convention circuit for the last several years. I met him at Too Many Games several years ago. He's a very nice guy. He's also a very tall guy, which they recognized in this video where Miyamoto said that at one restaurant in Japan he like hit his head on the ceiling or something like that. But basically, it's not that Charles Martinet has entered full retirement. But he said that I'm not retired, as it were, but I'm an ambassador. And as we step forward into the future, we'll all learn exactly what that is. So again, it's very ambiguous as to what Mario ambassador is, but it feels like a retirement gig for Charles Martinet, who again has been acting and voice acting for more than 30 years at this point. So I just, as I said a couple weeks ago, it wouldn't surprise me if doing all of the Mario voices and related Nintendo voices is just something he either can't do or simply doesn't want to do after 30 years now. And it probably makes more sense for someone new to step into these roles. So, look, good for him. Good on Nintendo for recognizing how much of an impact Charles Martinet has had on the franchise. I think there are plenty of other companies who don't treat their legacy voice actors as well as Nintendo has treated Charles Martinet. I think it's kind of nice to see a company as big as Nintendo understands the kind of impact that he's had on the character as well as on the fans. And to say, we still want you to have the interaction with the fans and we still want you to be basically a brand ambassador on behalf of Nintendo. So it's like he's not leaving, he's not being fired or anything like that. It's just sort of the next step for him as, again, this is a dude who is, how old is he?
He's in his 60s, I know. So
born 90, so he's 67. So yeah, he is retirement age.
Yeah. I don't have much thoughts on this specifically, but I will say that seeing this does remind me in a contrasting view of how David Hayter was basically like kicked to the curb before MGS5. And kind of how ignominious that was. And that was even, and again, I don't know whether that was a Kojima decision. I don't know if that was a Konami decision, but to hear Hayter tell it, like he basically had to like re-audition for the role of Solid Snake for every Metal Gear game that they did. And
That's so wild, yeah.
which yes, is crazy to me. So like I said, cool that's not how Nintendo ended their relationship with Charles Martinet, where it's basically like, hey, new phone who dis, like I don't know.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really respectable what Nintendo is doing with Charles Martinet, and I thought the video was a nice send-off for him with fans, with him sort of speaking for himself and sharing his own memories with the company and with the character. And again, I'm sure we will continue to see him at conventions and Nintendo events for years and years to come, and I'm sure we will continue to get vocal cameos from him in future Mario titles as well, in the same way that we got a vocal cameo from him in a couple of different ways in the Mario movie earlier this year. So look, good for him. I think this is about as well as anyone can possibly handle moving on from a dude who has been in such a visible, important role to a company like Nintendo for as long as he has. So in less good news, Unity be fucking up. Yo, we didn't think this was going to be a big news week, and then Unity came out and was like, yo, I got something for you today, folks. So Unity Technologies, which is, the company behind the game engine Unity, announced a new price model today. And it's like in Fallout 4, where the little "everyone disliked that" pops up. No one fucking likes this. No one likes this at all. Look, Unity is pretty widely used throughout the
I mean, it's
industry.
it's basically like this and
It's
Unreal
this and
are
Unreal
basically the
are
two
basically
engines
it.
that everyone uses, right?
Yeah, unless
Unless you build your own.
yeah, exactly. Unless you're like Bethesda and you've built your own like creation engine or some shit like that, or Capcom with the RE engine. Like, and if you don't have your own in-house proprietary engine, you are either using Unreal or Unity.
Let me phrase it a different way. If you were an indie developer, you're either using Unreal or Unity.
Yeah.
Which is really what this story impacts, I think.
Well, here's the thing, it impacts indie devs probably most severely, which is really what people are very up in arms about. It's, for the record, per this article with Polygon, it's the foundation for games like Pokemon Go, Hollow Knight, Rust, and Hearthstone. And of course, Pokemon Go and Hearthstone are not what I would consider indie games. But Hollow Knight is, and certainly plenty of others are. Basically what they're doing is there's a blog post that went up today saying that we are introducing a Unity runtime fee that is based upon each time a qualifying game is downloaded by an end user. We chose this because each time a game is downloaded, the Unity runtime is also installed. We also believe that an initial install-based fee allows creators to keep the ongoing financial gains from player engagement, unlike a revenue share. Unity Personal and so install fees vary depending on which version of Unity you're using. Unity Personal and Unity Plus customers are paying 20 cents per install after reaching 200,000 of revenue. Unity Pro and Enterprise will pay 15 and 12.5 cents per install after making $1 million. So it's the company is saying it's at these numbers, quote, to avoid impacting those who have yet to find scale, meaning they don't need to pay the fee until they have reached significant success. Of course, that being said, $200,000 does not go a long way in this industry. $200,000 of revenue doesn't pay for a team of even a small team of indie devs. It's
I'm gonna do some math real quick. So you have an indie game that comes out for $30. You would have to sell a little under 7,000 copies to hit that mark. To hit that
which
threshold.
is again not a lot. Not a fucking lot. The other thing about this that Unity hasn't seemed to really want to address is the fact that a lot of stuff that can be downloaded with the Unity engine are things like demos. And how are they factoring that? So it's like people were pretty quick to point out demos are now risky to devs. DRM free games are now risky to devs. Bundles like Humble or other charity bundles are now risky. Giveaways are risky. Updates are risky.
Free to play games, Game Pass
free to play games are now risky. Game Pass and PS Plus games are now risky. Multi-device users are now risky because, let's say, for example, there are a lot of games out there with crossplay. Final Fantasy 14, for example. If I'm playing 14 on PC and then PS5, that's two different installs. If I'm playing Baldur's Gate on multiple systems, that's multiple installs. Or if I have, my Steam account on multiple PCs, that's multiple installs, technically speaking. So yeah, there's a lot of very unhappy people about this. Basically it also brings up the issue of privacy issues for players because counting number of installs can be difficult. Indie devs are now wondering if they're going to have to implement digital rights management, DRM stuff, on their games in order to track installs. Unity has not made this clear or not. there's a lot of DRM free games on sites like GOG. And then GOG allows people to have as many copies of a game as they want to have. And so the policy is now having a lot of devs wondering if they're going to get penalized for that kind of distribution of their games. And it's like, all right, well, what if the game gets pirated? Are devs going to end up having to pay Unity for pirated copies of a game that they didn't fucking make any money on? So yeah, there's a lot of lack of clarity from Unity on this. Again, it's the little Fallout thing. Everyone disliked that. No one's fucking happy about this.
It's amazing that they just and you know, there's a tweet here from Rami Ismail, who is I believe he's an indie developer. He's either a developer or a journalist. I can't remember which. I think he's a developer. Where he says there's no way Unity talked to a single developer before launching this. Like you know, it's clear that this was a decision made inside of a room of managers who all talked themselves into it being a great idea, and they thought about how it's gonna be fantastic, and they just kind of rolled it out and laid like a turd, and now they've created a lot of FUD in the indie gaming market with just a unthought, like just a quick toss. So
yeah.
Very, very stupid, and I'd imagine that this is going to get walked back before too long, or at least look very different, or at least have incredibly high thresholds for success before this tax gets kicked in.
Someone
this is on top of the licensing fee also, right? That you have to pay.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
There was an indie dev who posted. So Michael Foxney said basically, this is now something where it's like, you make a game, the game is freemium. The game makes $200,000 from in-app purchases after being installed 3 million times. Now I owe Unity 20 cents per 2.8 million installs, or $560,000, which is $360,000 more than we made.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of situation that this new policy from Unity is creating for developers, where it's just, you know, again, a freemium game.
And by the way, Unity is now positioning themselves toe to toe against the company who recently was like, hey, if you put your game exclusive on our platform, we will give you all of the revenue generated.
Yeah, it's a bonkers business decision from Unity, and one that I think I'm going to put the over-under at 2 weeks, is going to be walked back big time.
Yeah.
So we'll follow up on this once there is inevitably a follow-up. So yeah, it's just an absolutely bonkers, pants on head, stupid ass business decision from Unity today.
Yep. So unfortunately we ran a little long on the show today, so we will have to push the post office to next episode. But again, don't forget to go to densepixels.com/fans to join the Discord to ask those questions, and we will make sure that we capture all of the questions that you guys put in this week in the next episode that we record. But thank you guys very much for watching and listening. Again, let us know about the ads quality on the new format, and keep your ear to the ground, because we have some plans for future on the TNP premium side of things to hopefully make that an even better value. So till next time, see you later.
See ya.
Yeah.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here, and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.